Hey everyone, welcome back to Glass Seats. This is Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal. And on this episode of the show, we're going to talk about wrapping up the playoffs and some of the developments that have happened in some of these series here. Are you excited? We got all game sixes minimum in all series for the second round.
And it wasn't looking like it at first either. A lot of these were like, oh, these are going to be sweeps or fives and stuff. And, you know, the teams have fought back. So
yeah, Carolina fought back. Just got eliminated today on Thursday, May 16th when we are recording this episode.
Chris Kreider show.
Chris Kreider said, nope, we're going home.
I was watching the highlights and because you texted me about it and I was watching the highlights. I was like, oh, in one period, he cleaned them off.
He said, nope, we're going home.
He's like, I'm tired of this. Yeah.
Boston staying alive against the Panthers. And of course, the Western Conference series fighting Edmonton, Vancouver, looking pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
But this episode, we're going to focus on the Colorado-Dallas series. Most importantly, we're going to focus on Valeri Nichushkin, who enters stage 3 of the NHLPA Players Assistance Program. I think right off the bat, we should say, best of luck to Valeri and whatever he's dealing with. Hope it gets through this time.
Yeah.
But some of the quotes from the Avalanche players, they're sounding a little frustrated.
Yeah.
And
to put it lightly.
Yeah. And understandably so, right? Yeah. Like so if those of you who don't know, the Players Assistance Program can help with many things like, drug and alcohol abuse, mental health, any sort of addiction. So we don't actually know why he's there because it's very private, very confidential, obviously. What we do know is that he has entered stage 3 of the Players Assistance Program, which we'll explain in a little bit. But I think also right off the top, we should say, I think, yes, we want him to get help. We want him to get better. But I don't think that leaves you free of criticism as well. Just because, some of this is in your control. And at the end of the day, if you need to step away from the team in order to, be treated and all of that, then you should step away from them, right? Right now, they were counting on you to being there for the playoffs, and now they got to scramble.
Yeah, and given that, I mean, again, in retrospect, hockey is not as important as, him getting help, but it does suck when your actual leading goal scorer of the playoffs is now just out for 6 months, minimum 6 months.
Yeah,
right? So.
And it doesn't matter that it's hockey, right? You were paid to do a job that you said you could do, and if you weren't ready to do it, then that should have been on you, right?
And I think a lot of this frustration from the Avalanche does stem from the fact that there was an incident in Seattle. I'm not going to get into it. You can look it up last year in the playoffs. And after that incident, he was just not back with the Avalanche. He was like, I guess he was kind of deemed a distraction. They didn't want to they just didn't want to deal with it, understandably so. And he's just done for the rest of the playoffs. And again, that's a big gaping hole in your offense right there. And there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, so I think we should talk about that incident in Seattle, not the details of it.
Yeah.
But likely that was stage 1 of him entering the NHLPA.
Was it?
Players Assistant Program, likely.
Okay.
So the program has 4 stages. Stage 1 is when you enter the program and there's no penalty for that. You get your treatment, whatever treatment plan they give you, you come back when you're ready. Stage 2 is if you violate your stage 1 treatment plan. In stage 2, you are suspended from the NHL without pay while undergoing further treatment.
Yeah.
Stage 3, where we are at now, is if you violate the stage 2 treatment plan, and that triggers a suspension a minimum of 6 months, followed by an application to be reinstated into the NHL. If you violate the stage 3 treatment plan, you are entering stage 4, which is the last stage. You are suspended for a minimum of 1 year, and reinstatement into the NHL is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So we are now at stage 3 with Valeri Nichushkin.
Yeah, I completely understand the frustration around it. And, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what he's going through. Like, I don't know every single detail. And he himself doesn't want to disclose that. And we should all respect that. But, yeah, the timing of it is terrible. Let's be honest. The timing of it is absolutely terrible. And like you said, it's true with any job where, like, when a big contributor just has to, like, kind of disappear for a little bit to take care of themselves, but more so in the playoffs, right? Like, I feel like it's extra amplified in the playoffs.
Plus, I think the frustration is also stage 1 might have been the Seattle incident.
Yeah.
Stage 2 would have been earlier this season when he missed play in January of 2024 for about a month. He was out.
Yes.
So at that point, Colorado could have done something, trade deadline wise or figured out their chemistry without him in the lineup if he wasn't going to be available, right?
Yeah.
But he came back. They game planned around him, and now he's out again.
Yeah. So this leads me to asking the question: do you think? Because he's a fantastic player. He was leading the team in goals and stuff.
Yeah, and I think he was second overall in playoff scoring.
Yeah. So he's an elite scorer. He is. But when you have this, it's almost like a liability factor, right? Like you at this point, you're not sure if you can rely on him. Do you think Colorado gives him one more chance and then he goes on, or like because he's signed to an 8-year, and he's only like 2 years into this 8-year deal, and it's not looking good. It's not looking reliable in the playoffs so far. So
I am going to check real quick. Does he have a no trade clause or a no movement clause? Because I think that's the key here.
Mm-hmm.
And he does.
He has a no trade clause?
No movement clause.
Oh, no movement clause. Okay.
Unless he wants to leave, he's an Avalanche.
Yeah. But like
they could buy him out, but that's expensive
buyout.
He has a cap hit of $6.125 million and 7 years remaining.
Yeah.
So their next out potentially is in the 25-26 season, where he has a modified no trade.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, the player can submit a 12-team no trade list, which leaves another 20 that he could be traded to.
Yeah.
So next season, likely he stays on the Avalanche roster.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he plays or not is a different question, but he'll stay on the roster.
Yeah.
And then you have a chance to move him the season after that.
Yeah. And what I think, at least what I'm predicting is going to happen, is that the Avalanche will continue to keep him around on the team, and like give him a chance. He will like actually be playing, but I think they're going to keep a pretty tight leash on him.
I mean, how many chances? This will be your third chance.
This will be a third time, yeah. And like, I get it. Everyone needs help, and relapse is a pretty normal thing for any sort of addiction. But
if that's what this is, we don't actually know.
If that's what it is, yeah. But it's, I don't know. As sports is a business, right? It is a business, and you need reliable people at important
forget
times.
The business point.
Yeah.
You're trying to win.
Yeah, you're trying to win. Yeah,
like this Avalanche team has one cup.
Yeah,
but based on the talent they have
potential to be a dynasty. Yeah. And
like we just saw Tampa come off a dynasty.
Right? Yeah, and so like this is it's frustrating, and understandably so. And I think more so than just the you left us when we needed you most feeling. I think they're also frustrated. Like, hey, we thought you were better than this, as like whatever friend, human, and again, not sitting here and pretending like I know what's happening, but.
And I think there's space for saying we expected better and for having sympathy for this person.
Yeah, that's what
there is space for both.
That's what
I think we should say. So when we're saying we expect you to be better, it's not that we don't have sympathy for whatever he's going through, right?
Yeah.
But this is the third time. Maybe you shouldn't have come back if you knew this was going to be an issue, et cetera, right? And I get they're hockey players; they want to compete, they want to play, but at some point. Like you said, there's life outside hockey.
Yeah. And there was a quote from Jack Johnson, and he kept it very terse, and he said, he made his decisions, and that's all I'll say. That's all I'm going to comment on it. And I was like, he seems frustrated. He seems like almost betrayed, right? It feels like a sense of like, oh, I didn't think this was going to happen again. So. Yeah,
like, I have some quotes here from Nathan McKinnon. He said, I don't got much to say on that. Found out in the morning, talked to C-Mac and Joe, who are GM and president of the Colorado. Obviously tough for him, his family, and that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Drouin said, it does. But like I said, you're a pro. We're all humans and we're all mature. That's the stuff you don't really control. Obviously, he made a decision and it's going to suck not having him. But you have got to move on or get ready for a game, and that was our only way.
Yeah.
So they're not saying anything. They're not throwing him under the bus, but you can feel the frustration at least.
Yeah. It's almost tangible at this point, because after the Seattle situation, it was just almost like not spoken on, and it seemed very happy, or the Avalanche team seemed very happy that he was back when he came in, whatever it was, preseason. Even when he returned. Whenever he returned
in February,
in this year, they seemed happy about it. But this is like the first time they're just like upset about it, right?
And Colorado right now is fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
They're down 3-2 going into Game 6 on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So if they lose, they're out.
Yeah.
So this is do or die.
Yeah,
and not having your leading goal scorer. Is tough.
And I didn't realize it because I didn't get a chance to watch Game 5, but they looked bad, and that's because they found out that he was being suspended as they were entering the rink and stuff like that. So
they were expecting Jonathan Drouin back in the lineup that night,
which he was,
and it was supposed to bolster the lineup. But instead, Nichushkin was out
for
leaving
6 months minimum. Yeah.
Yeah, meaning Drouin coming in was not really a bolstering, just kind of like a swap.
Yeah.
So
it was swap. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, so it definitely does affect the locker room. It affects chemistry, and again, we hope he gets the help he needs. But yeah, it's an interesting, tricky situation in Colorado, and I'm not really sure that there's a correct or not correct way to navigate it. So,
well, like you said, the earliest he can come back now is November of the next season.
Yeah.
So from this point
once
on,
he applies, though, right? Like,
there's a whole process.
Yeah,
but that's the earliest
stuff.
he can come back.
Yeah.
So for their playoffs, at least Colorado has got to move on.
Yeah.
It's got to find a way.
You got to find a way. Yeah.
If any team can do it, it's Colorado.
Yeah, that's true.
We've seen them do it before.
Yeah.
So Colorado fights for their lives on Friday, game 6 against Dallas. We'll be watching that game.
Yep.
We hope you come here to Glass Seats to talk about it afterward. We have 3 episodes out every week, so drop a like if you like this one. Hit subscribe for those future episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram @Glass Seats Show is the handle for more content there. We'll see you next episode.
Bye.